Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm going live at 11 with Synara Brown. So I'm just a couple minutes early to kind of just give her a little introduction. I mean, I will introduce her when she comes on too, but Synara is my red diamond leader in my company, Trinot, which by the way, I just got this sweatshirt. It is so soft and cozy. I just love it. Anyway, Synara is going to come on today and she is going to, I asked her to come on. And we're not doing any kind of a launch or really talking about products, although I'm sure they'll come up a little bit, but I wanted to interview her on kind of her life in general. She's got a really neat story. Well, I think it's really neat. She was not born and raised in this country. And I'm going to let her tell you all about that because I don't even know that. I mean, I know some about it, but not much at all. So I want to hear about that. And then her going from what her occupation was before to the network marketing industry. She is also only an hour and 20 minutes south. I will tell you this. I am somebody who always gets directions wrong. Like I know where to go, but I'll be like, I have a brother-in-law that lives down in Tennessee. I'm like, oh, what are you guys coming up next or down next? Like just, yeah, I mean up or, over instead of down. And, it's just kind of a lingo I use, but she is Milwaukee, so south. And we actually have a lot of similarity in some things that I kind of, when you have like a lifelong connection to somebody through something, there's always a little bit of a sister bond or sister soul buddy bond there. And she grew up, her dad was pastor, missionary. My dad's pastor in this country. Same faith, same church background. Her brother is a pastor in our church. I'll call it a synod, and I know a lot of people don't maybe have any idea what I'm talking about, but he was like, I think it was in my class at the college I went to, or I transferred to. And I transferred into that college, so I never really felt like fully part of that school. And then I ended up dropping out because I didn't want to be a teacher, but I didn't know who he was. And, had friends and connections and whatnot. My husband knew who he was because my husband played football and he was a year older. And so just lots of fun little connections. And so I kind of want to have her talk about some of that stuff today too, which kind of excites me. But then, just struggles and blessings of, how she was raised, getting to where she's at in this company. Because when you hear her story, it's like, really, does she really, hopefully, sir, there she is. Okay. Yeah, sisters. Okay. Wait, I should have just approved her and then I sent it invite. That was dumb. Sorry, Synara. I think I sent. Oh, there you are. Hi.
Hey, girl.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. I'm super pumped to have you on.
It was so great to see you on Sunday, by the way. And here we are.
I've been to events in the past for different things, and I was thinking this being more regional. Like I was not expecting. It was so huge and so much energy and like your speakers, everyone up there, like, and I brought a girl on my team that just like a week and a half before decided I want to come. Totally see a shift in her. She's so excited because this is all brand new to her and everything was so great. It was so great to like see more of who your husband is, your boys. I already told you about that. Like they were just walking in. I went out to my car because I forgot my phone and I'm coming back in and I'm like, okay, those are Synara's boys. And they're just chatting with each other like boys do. And then I'm like, hey, you guys, I'm like, I know you don't know me, but blah, blah, blah. Like, oh yeah, hi, nice to meet you. And I gave them a little background and I have boys similar to that age. So just super cool. And it was awesome. So,
thank you.
Yeah. So I was kind of given a little vibe of who you were before, but I wanted to save it mostly till you were on. So you are a red diamond leader in our company. You are the fastest growing red diamond leader in our country. If I say something wrong, be like, chip, that's wrong.
Nope.
You have been in the industry for 20 years.
Correct.
And you have a husband, Patrick. You have 3 kids, 2 boys, and a daughter. And I mean, I kind of knew who you were before just because we have some connections with how we grew up in our church and all that kind of stuff, but not really who you were. I knew your brother kind of because we were around the same age. So I'm going to give it just over to you and I'm going to have you just introduce yourself. And then, I want to get into like even where you grew up and then, you know, into high school, you know, all those things, and then get into network marketing. So go for it, Synara.
Oh my gosh, take it away. Okay, so super, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do the abridged version. So, long story short, okay, so let's take it back from the beginning, from, you know, childhood. So basically I was born in South Texas, okay? And when I was young, like grade school age, my family moved overseas to, of all places, Bogota, Colombia, South America. I grew up in Colombia. I loved living in Colombia. It's a beautiful country. It's where I feel like, even though I was born in the United States, I always feel like that's where I grew up. That's where I came of age, you know, that's where I moved into my teenage years, you know, and all those things. Well, if you know anything about Colombia, and especially in the late 80s and early 90s, Colombia became a very, very turbulent place. Most of you have heard of Pablo Escobar. You probably know about the huge, massive drug trafficking that was going on in Colombia at that time. Some of you have probably watched that Netflix series called Narcos, right? Which, by the way, isn't even a representation of how violent it actually was. That is a whitewashed version of what it was like to grow up there. And so it just, I mean, we had 10 to 15 bombs a day for years. You'd be eating your food and the windows of your house would just explode, and just glass flying into the house because of a car bomb that went off nearby, right? So as it became increasingly violent, the U.S. Embassy really wanted to get most Americans out, but we were committed to living there. You know, my dad is a pastor. You know, what was he going to say? Like, hey, peace out, guys.
Right.
Good luck with your own, good luck, y'all, you know. But they did decide to get the kids out. So my older sister, who was 18, went into the U.S. military. She went to college, but at that time, it just wasn't for her. She went into the U.S. military and eventually went, you know, she was stationed in South Korea. I went into high school. So when I became, when I was 14, almost 15, my parents sent me to the United States to go to a boarding school where I lived for the next 4 years. I did go home at Christmas time for about 2 weeks, and I did go home over the summers. Now, this is pre-internet, pre-cell phones, pre-everything. I mean, I think the fax machine was around. I would call home once a month for 30 minutes. That was all the contact I had with my family for that period of time, for those 4 years. But my parents sent me off knowing that I was going to be safe. My younger brother was 3 years younger. So what would that put him as? Sixth grade? Yeah, sixth grade. Yeah. 3 years later, when he got to ninth grade, they sent him away. And now I'm a senior in high school and he's a freshman. And so then we were at that high school, that boarding school, for 1 year together, which was really awesome. Yeah, so that is, and so during that 4 year period, I spent about 7 months of the year in the United States and about 3.5 to 4 months of the year in Colombia. So I was it was like a 60-40 split between Colombia and the US during that time. Then I had a scholarship to go to college in Wisconsin, and that's how I ended up here. Met my husband. We've been married for 26 years. We have 3 adult children. My middle guy's birthday's today, so they are now 19. Yep, they're 19, 22, and 23.
Okay.
Is what they are right now.
Okay.
And yeah, you know, I feel like the best parts of my personality or my greatest strengths come from having grown up overseas and having to really be independent through my high school years. And I also think some of my, honestly, I don't want to call them worst traits, but some areas that probably are blind spots are also as a result of that same thing. Sure. So like great blessings, but also I feel like, you know, some negative things too, but that's life, you know.
Sure. Yeah. So, you know, my husband went to a school like yours too, but didn't have to move a country away. You know, he was but 4 or 5 hours away from his parents, but still that same time, it was the other one, you know, no one's gonna know what we're talking about, but you know what I'm talking about, the one that your daughter went to. And I know that he was not the first in his family to go, but it was really hard on him because like his dad's a pastor too, but he went through public school up until 8th grade. And then now he was sent off to prep in Watertown, no car, no cell phone. You have one phone in the hallway. You got to share it, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, there were a lot of things that he really loved about the school, but it was also really, really hard. And now for you, you know, you're the first one to be sent off, right? Are you frozen?
Right.
Oh no, okay.
I was turning
You're the first.
on. I didn't want my.
Okay. I'm like, you're the first one to be sent off. You are going to another country again. I mean, yes, but you're not really even that familiar because you've been raised in Colombia.
Yeah, no, I had never even seen snow. I went to Michigan.
Sure.
I didn't even, it was tough. Like I said, it was, the first year was really, really challenging, even just like using English every day. I didn't even like having to speak English, to be honest with you.
Right.
Even though I spoke perfect English, I missed the culture, the vibrancy, the colors of of Colombia. Like Michigan felt like a very whitewashed, drab, boring place, compared to what I was coming from.
Sure.
Anyone who's watching this from Michigan, great state, but like compared to the Caribbean or compared to South America, it's a different culture. It's a different flair. People are different there. I felt like people were more cold and distant, in Colombia, you greet everyone with a kiss, like literally the mailman gets it. I mean, it's just, it's a warmer culture. And that was a big struggle for me because I just felt like everyone was like cold and distant,
Sure.
But anyway, you adapt.
You do. Did you find coming from, and I don't want to get into too much of all the things that people, but coming from a different country, coming down to this, and yes, I know Michigan, this high school brings in other international students too, but at that time, I'm only 3-4 years younger than you too. We weren't doing much of the international things in the school then yet. You do have maybe like one kid from Germany, one kid, but now today, right.
No, truth be told, we were called the imports. They called us the imports, which today would probably be kind of maybe politically incorrect. There were tons of us. I bet there were 50 international students, which from a school of maybe 450 is pretty significant. That's like 10%.
Sure.
On your birthday, they would fly your flag out on the school flagpole, which was always cool.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, we actually had a huge community of international students. Huge.
Good. So do you think any of that, going, having that, first of all, were you like, oh, cool, I get to go to school in the United States? Or were you like a homesick girl? Was this hard?
No, so initially I was really, really excited because I was just really excited. I was excited about going to the United States. I mean, Colombia is a third world country, no matter how you slice it. I was just excited about going to the US, but that shine quickly wore off. Like Michigan was just not, I did not like the weather. I did not like the culture. I just missed the vibrancy of home. That's the best way I can describe it. So I became very, very homesick. I really desperately wanted to come home.
Sure.
And, but my parents just made it very clear that it wasn't an option. It wasn't an option. It just wasn't safe for me. And the minute I really figured out that no amount of begging was going to make them change their mind, I really had a paradigm shift. And I was like, I remember it was just a click, like, well, I'm here.
Yeah.
And then that was it. I loved it. It was a mind shift. And then I was literally president of student council, president of my student body. I was a 3-sport athlete. I was in the choir. I was in the play. I was like, if you look at the yearbook, I'm on every third page. I was in everything.
Yeah.
And I grew to love it. I just had to have the mind shift. In my family, we always say we bloom where we're planted. That's our family. That was our family motto back then.
Yep.
We bloom where we're planted.
Yep.
And once I realized, okay, they're not letting you come home.
Yeah.
They're not letting you come home. I thought I would go home for Christmas and I could see them eye to eye and beg and cry a little bit. And they're not going to say no to my face. Nope, they did. They're like, you're staying there, learn to love it.
Sure.
And that was a massive lesson too. Every single person can wake up and just say, I have decided that this is my nirvana. This is my heaven. This is my happy place. And I generally am not even generally, I just am a glass half full person. Sure. A large part of that comes from living in Colombia. Like, it was just such a crazy place. And I am unshakable. Like, my cage just can never be rattled. Everything that I experience here pales in comparison to how I grew up. There's never a bad day. There's never a bad moment. And like I said, the one thing that I have had to work on is empathy, because let me put it in a today perspective. These people living in California that have lost everything through these fires. Sure. That person is going to lack empathy. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have a bad day at work? My house burned down. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Your car is on the fritz. I'm
Mhm.
homeless,
Right.
right? I have had to work on empathy because generally I really struggle relating to people's struggles
Sure.
here in the United
Sure.
States because, like, I'm sorry, did your house blow up? I'm sorry, did you get caught behind a car bomb?
Yeah.
I'm so, you know what I mean?
I know. I know.
So I have such a distorted reality of
Yep.
what is normal, and I have such a just it's just really hard for me to think how are why is this a big deal? I can't believe you're crying about this, right? Proverbial cry. I can't believe that this is ruining your day
Yeah.
because everything that I experienced in my childhood was 10 times worse
Yeah.
than my worst day here.
Yeah. I mean, you had to think about things as a child that we just do not think about here. We just don't.
Put it this way, I never had any expectation of safety.
Yeah.
That's the way what I tell people.
Sure.
Most people grow up with an expectation of safety. Like
Yep.
most kids, they don't wake up every day thinking, I hope I don't die in a bomb today.
No.
You know what I mean? So I just grew up with no expectation of safety. And that kind of changes who you are as a person, you know?
Oh, totally. Yeah. And, people that are coming in and out here right now, I'm interviewing my friend in my business, like just guru. She's just incredible. Synara Brown, I want to get a little bit more raw about like, we're going to get into here now next about where she is and how she got to where she is now. But just to know, like, this isn't really, when you introduce yourself at places, you're not like, oh, and by the way, you don't give this, you're not living in that past of like that, maybe the fear and trauma, even though that's what you only knew. But it did make you who you are today. And it did give you that, like, guys, just do it. Don't make this weird. Don't make this stupid. Like, why is this stressful? Do you
Right.
know what stress really is? And so, if you guys can relate to that, click a heart below, or, we talked about being sent off for school. Like maybe some of you went to military school, maybe this is going to resonate with you. So, put a like, put a heart, ask a question, drop where you're from. But I do want to move then over to, now you're here, you met you're in college. You've met your husband, and I know you talked about occupational therapy. So that's what you got your degree in. That's where you started. So what made you, and I know you enjoyed it, right?
I
Like,
did.
yeah.
I loved it.
So what was the first, I mean, I know there was a different company before, and in each of these companies, you've been the top. Okay. So you know what you're doing, and you've had those experiences in your past life, and you took them to push them to where you are today, instead of making this like, oh, woe is me, I've lived in this trauma. So what was the shift from OT to your first network marketing business?
Honestly, it was pretty simple. I mean, I had 3 kids in 4 years, and
Okay.
I wanted to be home with them, and B, it was cost prohibitive to put them in daycare. I mean, daycare is
Oh,
extraordinarily expensive times 3 kids.
right.
I mean, would I even be bringing any money home?
Mm-hmm.
So my salary wasn't going to be that much more. And I whittled down to as I had my first kid, I whittled down a little bit. Then the second kid, I whittled
Yep.
down, by the third, I was like, it doesn't even make sense to work.
Right.
But I didn't want to give up my income. That is something that my mom taught me from little. My sister and I, don't ever, ever, ever give up your income. You will
Sure.
always be a financial contributor.
Sure.
Because it's just like, you don't know what life is going to bring. You can have the most amazing husband and he gets hit by a bus, and I mean, you're on your own to support your children, or he becomes disabled, and who's going to support the family?
Mm-hmm.
Her thing was, you will always have enough money to support yourself and your children.
Sure.
Always. So anyway, so I was gonna like, how can I be a stay-at-home mom and not pay for daycare and also make money?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so somebody suggested, oh, you should look at direct sales. There's so many companies out there. It's like, oh, my cousin's part of this company. Trying to move out of the sunlight here. So yeah, so that's kind of how it started. My first company was a company called Discovery Toys.
Yep.
And funny enough, the reason I got invited to a Discovery Toys party, and I inadvertently took over the presentation because I was a pediatric occupational therapist, and these were the toys that we were using in my clinic.
Sure.
And so I was like, oh my God, you guys, this is a good one. I use this for kids that are having trouble with handwriting.
Sure.
Believe it or not, it really helps with their grip. And so I think the consultant, associate, whatever they're called, was like, you need to do this.
Yeah.
And so I started at that company. I loved it. I loved the flexibility. I loved working from home. I loved the autonomy, and I loved the money.
Mm-hmm.
But then once I kind of had once you get a taste of complete autonomy and complete freedom, you don't ever want to lose that. So I said, okay, this freedom is my new normal, but I want to make more money.
Sure.
The compensation plan wasn't as strong as it could have been. And so I looked for another company, and that's kind of how, you know, one thing led to another. And I was at that company for 13 years. Loved it. They closed. It was meant to be a 20-year run, which it was.
Yep.
They closed. I moved to another company as a stopgap while I looked for my perfect place, which is, I threw this on, turn out.
Same.
So that's kind of, yeah. So that's kind of how, that's the evolution. I love the direct sales network marketing space. I feel like, I always ask myself, do you feel like on a scale of 1 to 10, with 5 being the middle, do you feel like you are smarter and maybe a harder worker than the average person? Or do you feel like you are dumber and maybe less motivated than the average person? And you don't have to answer that out loud.
Sure.
But if you feel like you are a 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, you need to go into network marketing and work for yourself. You are being paid less than you are worth because you are smarter and harder working than the average person. And I considered myself to be an above average person. I think I'm smarter than the average bear, and I think I'm harder working than the average bear. And I thought, well, then I don't want anybody assigning a salary to me. I want to make as much money as I can make. I want my money to be commensurate with the work ethic that I have. And the only way I'm going to get that is if I go into sales. And so here I am.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you know, one thing that, because I've been in and out of this too for a while, and probably the hardest barrier is still, you know, the mindset, because people, and maybe it's our culture, but with all of our information we have, you know, unlimited internet, media, all of this, it still always blows my mind when you bring you bring up your company and they're like, oh, a pyramid scheme. I'm like, are we still seriously using that word? Like, like 15, 20 years ago?
I just feel like, sucks to be you, you're missing out. I mean, there are people that are still racist.
I know.
Who cares?
I know.
There are just a lot of dumb people out there. I mean, like, we're never going to cure stupidity. We're never going to cure stupidity. We're never going to cure ignorance. So I know that a certain percentage of people are racist, and I'm not going to be able to fix that. I also know a certain percentage of people have a stigma against the network marketing space. Fine, I'm not going to fix that. It doesn't deter, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't even faze me. Like, it doesn't even, I expect it. I know that.
That's true. I do.
Doesn't even faze me.
I don't know. You know, I just don't even know really where it came from. But then when you bring up that, did your grandma use Tupperware? Did you use Tupperware? Like, everyone used Tupperware, you know, and they don't sometimes even realize that was how that company chose to market their business, you know. But so a lot of what we do, I don't know, I personally feel like, and everyone's different and everyone gets into the business different. Some people, like Trinot, we're health and wellness. Some people get into it strictly because they tried a product, it changed their life. Now they see the potential of income. I'm doing this business. Then there's people more like you are, I mean, you totally believe in our products. And I mean, by your pictures, we've all seen what it's done also for you. I mean, weight was never your issue, but you've had your own things you've overcome, and you can see it. But you are very business minded. You know, you are, and having that conversation with you once about income, because sometimes it's this like, ooh, you know, there's certain politics, this, and income. It's like, we need income to live. We do not build tents and live in tents anymore. We don't barter and trade. We're not trading furs. Like, we have mortgages, we have cars. The average person spends more on a car than their income in a year. Like, we are so backwards in this country. We have got to start educating people on not just health, but wealth, which is what Trinot started out as. So I don't know if you just want to give a little blip on the company's wealth start, and then how and why they moved into health.
So the company actually started, I believe, 12 years ago. I think it's 12 in the wealth space. They were a wealth management, wealth education company, teaching you how to better invest your money, how to save your money, how to be a better steward of your money. And at the 3-year marker, I don't know what was the impetus, but they decided, you know, what does it matter if you have millions and millions and millions in the bank, but you're your health is in the toilet, you know,
Right. Okay.
and vice versa. Yeah, like we need money to live. So health and wealth really do go together. So they started a health division, started with 4 products that eventually morphed into 25, you know. So I do love that. This is a fiscally conservative company.
Yep.
And that makes sense with a company that started in the wealth space. They're 100% debt free.
Yep.
They have a super generous compensation plan because they don't waste money on things that don't need to be done.
Yes.
And so I don't know, I do feel like I found my, like, I always say I wish I would have found this company sooner, but truth be told, everything that you do along the way is teaching you something, or you're growing in some way so that you can be successful in that next step. So everything that I did along the way got me to this point. I've been here 2 years. I've always been a top earner, but top earning here is 4 times what I earned anywhere else. Now, when you let that sink in, it's like I'm the same person with the same IQ, same level of education, same skill set, same network. Nothing has changed. I just moved to a company with a product that more people want, that is fiscally conservative and has the ability to pay more. So their compensation plan is the strongest I've ever seen. And it is a non-party model, which I feel like, you know, I did the party plan for, my gosh, 15 years.
Yep.
Guess what? At one time, people were doing math on an abacus. Those days are over.
Right.
At one point, people were writing papers in college on a typewriter. Those days are over. At one time, the network marketing space, pre-internet and pre-social media, needed to be a party plan model. To me, those days are over.
Yeah.
We do things in that moment because that's the way it needs to be done, right?
Yep.
Pre-internet, pre-computer, there wasn't a way to type your paper up any other way than to use a typewriter.
No.
But why would you do that now?
Right.
You wouldn't.
No.
So that's, you know, I feel like the party plan model is like a dinosaur. No, hey, more power to the people that still want to do that. But like, I don't want to be typing papers on a typewriter. I want to be able to use my MacBook with autocorrect, auto grammar, auto save, all the things, right? So for me, I wanted to move to a network marketing space where I could harness the single biggest marketing platform on the planet, which is social media, and it also happens to be free.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
that's why I made the move.
Yep.
No parties, no inventories, no quotas, complete freedom. I think I worked from 11 countries in the last 12 months. I actually, believe it or not, was camping, well, glamping, if y'all know, in the Sahara Desert in Morocco. I was literally in the middle of the Sahara Desert with camels. They had a satellite, they had Wi-Fi. Every day
It's
crazy. Worked my business for about 30 minutes.
It's crazy.
So I've never had just more joy than I have right now because of the freedom that Trinana has given me.
Yep. Yeah. And, you know, I know we're getting, I didn't want to go over 30 minutes, but I did want to just have you mention the plan of our company compared to other, well, not even comparison. I'm just saying the tri-leg system, because you and I are in a similar spot with what we can do, having our spouse and then 2 adult kids. And then I will say this too, and if you could just explain that model and how that has worked for your family in terms of the income and the car, because cars are big, cars are needed and they're big and they're a big expense. But when your son talked about growing up in a home like this, you know, that like really resonated with me, because sometimes I think, you know, I always really have been a stay-at-home mom. I've had part-time jobs. I dropped out of college. I did not want to be a teacher. I'm still super glad I didn't go that route. I like the thought of it makes me more and more as I get older. Like, I'm glad I didn't. I felt guilt because everyone's like, "Why are you dropping out of college?" Right? You know, and it's like, I don't want to do it. I just why should I rack up more debt for something I want to do? But sometimes there's that, like, because I'm here, and you know, your kids are in and out, and then, you know, you feel like, oh, am I still giving them of enough? But they're seeing what you're doing, and they're hearing the podcasts you listen to, and they're learning the model. And then, so when I heard your son talk about that, it just like hit home, because I thought, okay, first of all, this kid's awesome. You know, like the fact he's up on this stage, talking and sharing what he's sharing. But, you know, when he talked about riding in the car to school, and he's like, my mom was present. He goes, sure, she was on phone calls and she was on this and that, but we overheard that, you know? And so if you could just explain, you don't have to go into all that, but just how the model works for people curious, like, well, what do you mean, you know?
So what I tell people is like, when you're in a network marketing space, there are really two streams of income. Okay. And the network marketing space, a real life parallel would be for those of you who maybe work in a car dealership. Okay. If you work in a car dealership, you know, you walk into, say, I don't know, a Toyota dealership, right? There's all the sales associates on the floor. All of them probably made a different amount of money that month. None of them are on a set salary. They're going to make money based on how many cars they sold. And some people are really good at selling cars and some people are more average, right? Mm-hmm. So same thing for us. We have our own website and we make money when we sell the car, when we sell products. Some people are going to sell more products than other people based on how big their network is, maybe how present they are, maybe their work ethic, all the things, right? Okay. There's a secondary stream of income for the people in our network marketing space that build a sales team. And this would be the equivalent of maybe the person who's like the GM of that dealership. This is the guy or the woman that kind of like sits in the office in like the glass box. And more than likely, he has a quota from his corporate headquarters. Hey, if your dealership sells X many cars, you know, he's probably got a salary and he probably gets some bonus structure based on the productivity of his dealership. Mm-hmm. Same for us. I have my own customer base, but then I also have built a sales team and I get paid an additional bonus based on the productivity of that sales team. If that sales team generated 0, there would be no bonus, right? So the interesting thing is that our model is the same exact model that every sales organization on the planet Earth has. There are usually sales reps. And then there is somebody who supports those sales reps. It might be a manager, it might be a sales manager, and whatever. But every sales rep, even if you go to the Apple store at Mayfair Mall, mm-hmm. every sales rep that has someone that manages the store. Okay, so I manage my team mm-hmm. and I get paid a bonus on their productivity. All right. What's unique and different about Trinant is that every other company I worked for before did not allow you to make one of your sales reps be your family member. So it would be like if I was the GM of that Jeep dealership, I wouldn't be able to hire my son at that dealership. Mm-hmm. It would be, you're forbidden to work with your family, sure. right? Yep. Even though he might be amazing, sorry kid, you can't work here because I work here.
Sure.
Trinant says, hey, if you want your family members to be sales reps on your team, let them. We'd love that. So what happens is we build 3 little teams within our organization. So again, in the car dealership, it would be like an A team, a B team, and a C team, right? I've got these little teams and they work together and they collaborate and they cheer each other on. Well, I've set my family members up as the top of those 3 organizations. Mm-hmm. So they are making an income, a bonus on the productivity of their unit. So for my sons, this has been an incredible amount of money. They are completely debt-free from college. They, you know, have enough money they're invested in the market. They've maxed out all of their SEPs and Roth IRAs and 401ks and all those things. You know, Dylan is 23, he's almost 24. He's looking to either buy a duplex or buy a house this summer. Mm-hmm. His peers are barely making rent. They have no extra money. And he's looking to buy a home. Yeah. So I love the family model. And again, this is unique to Trinant.
Yep.
This is unique to Trinant. They want you to partner with your family members and make money as a group. And yep. That's what we've done.
Yep. Yeah, one thing your husband said, and that, you know, you catch the nuggets, you take notes, but little things kind of ring. And, you know, he said, you know, Terry, and I was like, oh, you know, but their future looks so much different than so many kids our age. And now if someone wants to just say, okay, yeah, that's great. That's cool. That's cool for them. That is so rare. You know, it only happened to her. And I'm like, okay, look at your life. Look at your start. Look at, you know, you grew up in this third world country that none of us, we can watch the news and see the things like you said, but we will not get it. Okay, we can empathize. We will never get that. You came from your dad was a pastor, my dad was a pastor. We know the bucks that were
Yeah.
rolling in. I still remember the green food stamps my mom had in South Dakota, and you know, like this, you did not have some kind of, you know, elite cushion that pushed you into this.
Yeah.
You worked hard for it and you believed you could do this. And then now this company has said, we want your family to be able to create this legacy and to have, like, my kids are going to college too. So are yours. They have careers in mind right now. But if they get to the point where they're like, I don't want to do this anymore, they can solely focus on this, or they can do, I mean, they have so many options. Like, I can't even imagine all the options they have. So, thank you for sharing that. And let's just end with, could you just leave us one tip? Like one tip of someone that is going to watch this, I'm going to pin it, and they're like, well, that does sound kind of fun and interesting, but I just, I don't know if I could do it. I just one tip. It could be something super short. Just one thing to kind of saturate on, I guess.
Yeah, I guess my tip would be give yourself the same advice that you would give to your children or a niece or a nephew, okay? If your child said to you, oh, Mom, I really want to try out for the basketball team, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to make it. There's a lot of talented kids. Would you say, you know what? You probably won't make it. I wouldn't try out. I'd hate for you to be cut.
Yeah.
Never. You would say, you know what, kid? Try out. If you make the team, great. If not, you're always going to wonder anyway. Only 5 kids are going to make it. So if you don't make it, oh well. But at least you tried and you gave it your best shot, and you will know. And I think about my daughter, Cecilia. She wanted to try out for the dance team at her high school. Mm-hmm. And she said, Mom, they're taking 2 freshmen, 2. And there's like 30 girls trying out. I said, Cecilia, try out. Go in with no expectations. You're 28 won't make it. You're probably going to be one of the 28, but you might get lucky and be one of the 2. And if not, you'll wonder. So guess what? She made the team. She was one of the 2 freshmen picked. Would I have told her, ooh, those odds are really low, don't do it? Never. Think about the advice that you would give to your children or to a niece or a nephew or a godchild. You would say, you know what, kid? Harvard is tough. I don't know if you'll get in. It's like a 0.5% acceptance rate, but what the heck? Send in an application. You never know. I say the same thing. This space has made more millionaires than anyone. And than any other industry. Now, maybe you don't even need millions. It's just 500. Anybody can make, a trained monkey can make $500 a month. Forget about the millions. A trained monkey can make $500. Yes. So maybe it's just like, you know what? I don't know if that's going to be for me, but I'll at least get some information and I'll look into it. And then at least I can make an educated decision. Let me learn a little bit more. Let me actually be curious and learn. Yeah. You're either someone who's curious and learner, or you're a closed-minded human. And you have to look in the mirror and have an honest conversation about who you are. Yeah. And so if you consider yourself to be an open-minded, curious person, you'll get some information. Yeah. Now, that information may be like, you know what, I looked at it, I don't think it's for me. Great, you made an educated decision. Absolutely. But you weren't closed-minded about it. I was a little bit knee-jerk reaction-y when someone said you should go into direct sales. I remember thinking, you know what I remember thinking? It's like, I went to college. That's for people that didn't go to college. What a close. But you know what? But there was a back of my mind, something that said, well, just look into it. Mm-hmm. And the rest is history. Yep. So my piece of advice is, the most expensive thing that you will ever have that will hold you back further in life is a closed mind. Yep. So don't be that person. Yep. I heard that. The world is full of opportunities if you can just be open-minded enough to look at them. Yep. That's what I would leave people with. Awesome. Awesome. And I'm going to close here, but when you brought up your daughter's dance, I'm going to say this too. On a flip side, but then also a cool story, and you know, people may want to hear this. My son, my 3rd son, smaller. Okay. My older son's very big, muscular, whatever. 3rd son, more like my husband. He has grown this year. He's almost 5'9" as a sophomore. We're getting there, but always a good sports guy. Not the best, but good. Started on his teams growing up, get to high school. Not a huge high school, but just loves the game. Loves sports too. There were going to be cuts last year on freshmen, and probably nobody else would have thought he would have got cut. Somehow that kid got cut. He was devastated. People honestly were like, what happened here? You know, and you start to wonder if there's other things, but
if I would have been him, if that was me back in the 90s, that happened to me as I was back then, I wouldn't have ever tried out again. I'd have been so hurt, so crushed. They already have it, you know, they don't like me, this and that. He was crushed, but he worked his ass off for the next year. Trying to put on the protein, put on the pounds, tried out this year, and I'm not going to lie. I was a little PTSD as a mom. Made the team, and kids that were on the team last year got cut.
Yeah.
That even were playing. Made the team and was one of 6 that were told you may not play that much. He's playing a lot. Not a starter, but like 6th, 7th, 8th man in. And I'm like, dang kid, you inspire me, because I wouldn't have done that at your age. So, you know, your daughter, she had this huge thing she was up against, and she was that one of 2, which is huge. And then also the kid that, you know, what if she hadn't? She probably would have been like you and gone off the next year and then again made it. But the whole point is he did have to hit that absolute gut wrenching, you know, and as a mom, it's terrible too. And, you know, you don't even really know how to coach him the next year. You're like, yeah, you should try out, you know, but you're thinking, I'm so proud of him, you know? And so those are the stories that are like, just go in with the mind that you are going to make it. And then know that, yeah, you could not, or this might not, but don't think that way. Think it will.
Give yourself a chance. And the reality is we're not going to be good at everything. Everything's not going to be a fit. People go to college. They think they want to be an engineer. They get through their first semester and they say, I don't like this. And they switch majors. Nobody ever says, I can't believe she switched majors, right? You just, you know, life is about trying different things and finding what you're good at. So yeah, that would be my piece of advice, is know that there is an entire stream of income that 99% of people don't tap into simply because they're too closed-minded to even look at it. And I feel bad for those people. I look at my life, the income we have, the freedom, the flexibility. I retired my husband 8 years ago. And it's all because I was open-minded enough to look, to look. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Synara. I will see you, in 2 months for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.